Shalom, my dear friends. Today I am going to pull back the curtain of reality itself. I am going to reveal a 6,000-year-old secret, a hidden mathematical code that underpins all of creation, from the stars in the heavens to the seconds in your day. Once you see this secret, you will never look at the world or your own life in the same way again. This is the blueprint of the universe, and it has been waiting for you to find it. But first, I must ask you a question, a very personal one. Have you ever felt that there is a hidden order to the universe, a secret language just beyond your grasp? A feeling that the chaos of your life is just an illusion covering something profound and perfectly designed? If you have ever felt this, go to the comments right now and write, "I am ready to see." Now, our mission here is a sacred one. We are building a community, an army of 10,000 souls dedicated to uncovering the deep truths of the Torah and transforming our lives from the inside out. If you are ready to be part of this holy mission, to move from a life of confusion to a life of clarity and divine purpose, then subscribe to this channel right now. It is a declaration that you are ready for the truth. And if you are serious about transforming not just your perspective, but your entire financial reality, I have something special for you. For a limited time, I am opening the doors to the Torah Millionaire Business School for just $299. This is closing soon. In this course, I unveil the full Torah wealth system, the same 3,000-year-old Jewish money laws that built dynasties, protected families, and created unstoppable prosperity. This is not about tricks. It is about aligning yourself with the divine flow of abundance that is written into the very code of creation we are about to discuss. The link is in the comments. Do not wait. I know what it feels like to be lost in the noise. I remember a time, many years ago, when my life felt like a storm of disconnected events. On the outside, I was a rabbi, a teacher, a leader. But on the inside, I was wrestling with a profound sense of spiritual vertigo. My prayers felt scattered, my actions seemed random, and I couldn't discern the hand of Hashem in the chaotic tapestry of my daily existence. I would study the Torah, I would teach the parables, but a quiet voice in my heart would whisper, "Where is the order? Where is the design?" I felt like a sailor on a vast ocean without a compass, surrounded by the immense power of the water, but with no way to navigate it. This feeling of being spiritually adrift, of missing the fundamental blueprint of my own life, was a quiet crisis that gnawed at my soul. I yearned for a sign, not a loud miracle, but a glimpse of the underlying Seder, the divine order that I knew must exist. The enemy we are all fighting, my friends, is the illusion of chaos. In Hebrew, we call it tohu vavohu, the state of formlessness and void described in the first verses of Genesis. This is not just a description of the pre-creation universe. It is a state of consciousness. It is the belief that life is random, that events are meaningless, and that we are simply victims of circumstance. This belief is a spiritual poison. It creates anxiety, because if everything is random, then anything terrible can happen at any moment. It creates fear, because we feel we have no control. And it creates a deep, soul-crushing sense of powerlessness. This illusion of chaos is a klipa, a shell that covers our eyes and prevents us from seeing the breathtakingly intricate and perfectly ordered reality that Hashem has constructed. The cost of living under this illusion is a life of quiet desperation, a life spent reacting to the waves of chaos instead of learning to navigate the currents of divine will. You wake up each day to fight the same battles, wrestle with the same anxieties, and feel the same sense of being lost, all because you have been blinded to the secret architecture of your own life. But our sages, blessed be their memory, knew the secret. They knew that the universe was not created in a chaotic frenzy. The Talmud, in Tractate Berachot, tells us that God created the world with sefer, vesipur, vesefer, with a number, a story, and a book. Think about that. Before the mountains and the oceans, before the animals and man, there was a number. There was a divine mathematics, a sacred geometry that formed the very blueprint of existence. This is the 6,000-year-old secret. And incredibly, the echoes of this secret were not only preserved in our holy texts, but they were found, rediscovered, by an ancient civilization in Mesopotamia, the Sumerians. They developed a system of mathematics based not on 10, as we use today, but on 60, sexagesimal math. It seems strange to us, but this system is all around you. Why are there 60 seconds in a minute, and 60 minutes in an hour? Why does a circle have 360 degrees? It is a remnant of this ancient divine system. 360 is simply 6 times 60. This isn't arbitrary. It is a fingerprint of the Creator. The Sumerians themselves, in their ancient cuneiform tablets, wrote that they did not invent this knowledge. They said it was gifted to them by tall, wise beings who came from the sky. But we, as students of the Torah, know the ultimate source of all wisdom. This knowledge, this divine mathematics, is woven into the fabric of Maaseh Bereshit, the very work of creation. Look at the patterns. The number 12, which the Sumerians used as a base to get to 60, is a holy number in Judaism. The 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 months of the year. The number 72, which is central to this mathematical matrix, is the number of the holy names of God, a powerful spiritual technology for accessing divine energy. The number 432, another key number in this ancient system, is found hidden in the measure of our day. There are 86,400 seconds in a 24-hour day. 12 hours of daytime is 43,200 seconds. 12 hours of nighttime is another 43,200 seconds. Do you see? The number is not random. It is a signature, an artist's mark on his own creation. The wobble of the earth, its precession, takes 25,920 years to complete one cycle. When you divide that non-arbitrary astronomical number by the Sumerian/divine number of 60, you get 432. When you divide it by 36, you get 720, the sum of the angles in a hexagon, the shape of the Star of David. It is all connected. It is a matrix, a web of divine intention. This isn't just math. It is a spiritual revelation. It is proof that you are not living in a random universe. You are living inside a meticulously designed masterpiece, a symphony of numbers, and you are part of the song. My personal breakthrough, the moment the fog of chaos lifted from my soul, came when I stopped begging God to show me the path and started looking for the patterns He had already laid. I immersed myself in the mystical texts of our tradition, in the Zohar, in the writings of the Arizal, who taught that every letter and every number in the Torah is a gateway to a higher reality. I stopped seeing the 60 seconds on my watch as a measure of time and started seeing them as a whisper of the divine order. I stopped seeing the 12 months on the calendar as an arbitrary division and started seeing them as a reflection of the 12 tribes, 12 gates, 12 pathways to connect with the Creator. The world transformed before my eyes. It was no longer a chaotic, frightening place. It was a text, a holy book filled with clues and codes, all pointing back to the one, infinite, and impossibly intelligent source. My anxiety did not just lessen, it dissolved. It was replaced by a profound sense of peace, a deep emunah, faith, that came not from blind belief, but from seeing the evidence of the designer's hand in every corner of reality. I realized that my life, too, was not a random series of events, but a sequence, a story, a numerical progression in God's great book. And with that realization, I was no longer a victim of chaos. I was a participant in a divine, unfolding symphony. Now, I want to give you the practical application. I want to give you a tool to begin to see this divine order in your own life. I call it the Divine Blueprint Protocol. It is a 3-step process for shifting your perspective from the illusion of chaos to the reality of divine design. Step number 1. Acknowledge the order. I call this the Shema of numbers. Just as we declare God's unity with the Shema, we must begin our day by declaring our recognition of His order. When you wake up, take 60 seconds, just 60 seconds, and consciously notice the patterns around you. Notice the 12 hours on your clock. Notice the 60 minutes. Notice the 7 days of the week. Say aloud, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, oseh maaseh vereshit. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, the author of the work of creation. You are actively tuning your mind to see the pattern, not the randomness. A student of mine, Michael, a man who felt his business was in constant chaos, started doing this. He told me, "Rabbi, it's incredible. By starting my day looking for the order in time, I began to see the hidden order in my finances, in my client relationships. The chaos was just in my head." Step number 2. Find your number. The Torah teaches that each of us has a unique path. Your life also has a rhythm, a number, a frequency. For the next 7 days, I want you to keep a small notebook. At the end of each day, write down the most significant event that happened. After 7 days, look at the list. Do you see a pattern? Does a particular theme emerge every 2 days, every 3? Perhaps you'll notice that your moments of greatest clarity always come on a Wednesday, the 4th day. or your greatest challenges appear on a Friday, the 6th day, just before Shabbat, pushing you to let go. You are looking for your personal rhythm in the grand design. Another student, Sarah, discovered that her most creative ideas always came in 3-day cycles. By recognizing this pattern, she restructured her work week to align with her natural creative rhythm, and her productivity soared. She found her number. Step number 3. Speak the language of creation. Remember, God created the world with words, with speech. After you have acknowledged the order and begun to find your number, you must begin to speak in the language of design, not chaos. Instead of saying, "Everything is so random and chaotic," you must declare, "I am seeing the hidden order in this situation." Instead of saying, "I'm so overwhelmed," you must affirm, "I am a part of a divine plan, and this is one step in the sequence." This is not about lying to yourself. It is about interpreting reality through a new lens. You are choosing to read the book of your life from the perspective of the author, not as a confused character. When you speak this way, you are aligning your own creative power with the Creator's design, and you will be astonished at how reality begins to conform to your words. Now, how do we apply this in our modern, hectic lives? You might be thinking, "Rabbi, this is a beautiful idea, but my bills are chaotic. My relationships are messy. My health is unpredictable. How can I see order in this?" This is the most common and important objection. The secret is to understand that the divine order does not mean the absence of problems. The notes in a symphony include dissonance and tension. A story includes conflict and struggle. These are not signs of chaos. They are part of the design. The order is not in having a perfect, problem-free life. The order is in the sequence. Your current struggle is a necessary note that must be played before the chord of resolution. Your financial difficulty is a chapter that is building the character you need for the chapter on abundance. Do not mistake a difficult passage for a poorly written book. The author knows exactly what he is doing. A second objection is, "This sounds like a conspiracy theory, or just seeing patterns where there are none." But this is the opposite of a conspiracy. A conspiracy is a hidden, malevolent order. This is a revealed, benevolent order. And it is not about imagining patterns. It is about discovering the mathematical and geometric constants that physicists and mathematicians acknowledge are the bedrock of our universe. The fine-tuning of the cosmos is the single greatest scientific mystery. We are simply giving it its true name, Ma'aseh Bereshit, the work of creation. Finally, some may say, "I'm not a numbers person. This is too complicated." You do not need to be a mathematician to appreciate a symphony. You just need to listen. You do not need to be a programmer to use a computer. You just need to know how to use the interface. This is not about solving complex equations. It is about shifting your perception from chaos to design, from random to rhythmic, from fear to faith. It is about learning to feel the pulse of the universe and realizing it has been beating inside you all along. So here is my challenge to you. For the next 7 days, you are going to practice the Divine Blueprint Protocol. Here are your 3 immediate, non-negotiable actions. 1. Every morning for 60 seconds, you will acknowledge the order in time and recite the blessing Oseh Ma'aseh Vereshit. 2. Every evening, you will spend 5 minutes writing down the day's most significant event, looking for your personal rhythm. 3. Throughout the day, whenever you feel overwhelmed by chaos, you will stop, take a breath, and declare, "There is a hidden order here, and I am part of the plan." And here is a bonus for you. Find one thing in nature, a flower, a seashell, a snowflake, and really look at it. See the geometry, the pattern, the impossible intricacy. See it as a small love letter from the designer of the universe, reminding you of the beauty and order that is always present, even when you can't see it. Remember the words of King David in the Psalms. "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands." The secret is not hidden away in a locked vault. It is written in the sky, in the earth, in the rhythm of your own heartbeat. You just need to learn how to read it. Shalom, and may you be blessed with the eyes to see the magnificent divine order in all things, and the peace that comes from knowing you are a perfect and necessary part of its design. Shalom. Let me tell you about 3 people who applied the Divine Blueprint Protocol and experienced profound transformations in their lives, not just in their perspective, but in their actual, measurable reality. Story number 1. David. David was a software engineer, brilliant with code, but his personal life was falling apart. His marriage was on the edge of divorce. His children barely spoke to him. He worked 80-hour weeks, and despite his high salary, he was drowning in debt from poor financial decisions. He felt like his life was a series of random disasters. When David came to me, he was desperate. He said, "Rabbi, I feel like I'm cursed. Nothing makes sense." I taught him the Divine Blueprint Protocol. At first, he was skeptical. He said, "I work with algorithms all day. I know patterns. My life has no pattern." But I challenged him. I said, "You're looking at the wrong scale. You're looking at the daily chaos. Zoom out. Look at the sequence." David committed to the protocol. Every morning, he spent 60 seconds acknowledging the divine order in time. Every evening, he wrote down the day's most significant event. And within 2 weeks, something remarkable happened. He noticed a pattern. Every time he had a major conflict with his wife, it was exactly 3 days after he had made a financial decision without consulting her. Every time his children withdrew from him, it was 2 days after he had missed a family dinner because of work. The pattern was there. His life wasn't random. His choices were creating a predictable sequence of consequences. This realization was a lightning bolt. He stopped seeing himself as a victim of chaos and started seeing himself as a participant in a cause and effect system designed by God. He changed his behavior. He started consulting his wife on finances. He blocked out family time as sacred, non-negotiable appointments. Within 3 months, his marriage began to heal. Within 6 months, his children were talking to him again. Within a year, he had paid off his debt and received a promotion that actually required fewer hours because his mind was clear and focused. David didn't just change his perspective. He changed his life by aligning with the divine blueprint that was always there. Story number 2. Rebecca. Rebecca was a single mother of 2 working as a nurse. She was exhausted, burnt out, and felt like she was constantly one emergency away from collapse. She had no savings, no support system, and she told me, "Rabbi, I pray every day, but I feel like God isn't listening. My life is just one crisis after another." I introduced her to the concept of divine order, and specifically the idea that even crises follow a pattern. I asked her to track not just her crises, but the small blessings that appeared around them. For 30 days, she kept a journal, and what she discovered changed everything. She realized that every time she faced a major financial crisis, within 48 hours, a small, unexpected blessing would appear. A friend would offer to watch her kids for free. A patient would give her a generous tip. A bill would be lower than expected. The blessings weren't random. They were rhythmic. They followed the crises like a heartbeat. Once Rebecca saw this pattern, her entire emotional state shifted. She stopped living in fear of the next crisis because she knew, with absolute certainty, that the blessing was already on its way. This wasn't blind faith, it was pattern recognition. And because she was no longer paralyzed by fear, started making better decisions. She took a weekend certification course that led to a higher-paying position. She joined a community support group that became her extended family. Within a year, she had tripled her savings and felt, for the first time in a decade, that she was not just surviving, but thriving. Rebecca learned to read the rhythm of her life, and in doing so, she learned to dance with it instead of being trampled by it. Story number 3. Jonathan. Jonathan was a young man, 28 years old, who had been diagnosed with a chronic illness. He was angry at God. He felt betrayed. He said, "Rabbi, where is the order in this? Where is the design in suffering?" This is perhaps the hardest question, the deepest objection. And I will not pretend to have a complete answer to the mystery of suffering. But I shared with Jonathan the teaching of the Arizal, that every soul has a tikkun, a correction, a specific mission that can only be accomplished through a specific set of circumstances. I asked him, what if your illness is not a random punishment, but a specific note in your unique symphony? What if there is something you are meant to learn, or teach, or become, that can only happen through this path? Jonathan was resistant at first, but he agreed to try the protocol. He began to look for the patterns in his illness. He noticed that his symptoms flared up during times of high stress and poor diet.